Hello everybody! So welcome to the Chrisel Crawford Show. I'm your host. I'm your creator of magnitude. I'm your loony bin entrepreneur leader, Christel. For those of you guys that don't know me, if this is your first time here, we on this show, I on this show most of the time, there will be we, I promise you at some point, really talk about the tools of access consciousness. This body of work has completely, totally transformed my life. And I am honored and gifted beyond belief to be a facilitator of this work. Hi, Maruna. So if you're listening to the show for the first time, I do record this live on Facebook, and then we take the audio and put it all the places. So no matter where you're listening to it, this show is recorded live. If you hear wind noise, it's because when I can, I'm absolutely outside. And I live in southern Ontario, and it's summer right now and gorgeous. So listen, we get 3 months of warm weather out of the year. Here, I'm outside. Hi, Tanya. So if you guys are live with me, please shout out. I love it. Hi, Claire. I called this week's episode The Access Tools That I Use When I'm Choosing Beyond This Reality. And it's a little bit of a trick title, because in reality every access tool that you use takes you beyond this reality. But I called it that because this particular phrase, beyond this reality, has been a phrase that since I found access consciousness has sort of it stumped me in the beginning and then confused me after that, and then I tried to figure it out with my brain after that, and then turns out it is like the way to create. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about it. This week, I'm opening the doors again to my business coaching program called Amplify. And I love, you guys know, I talk about business all the time. I love business. I love facilitating around business. I think it's probably the most fun I ever have is just creating shit. And so I like working with creators. And I've done a bunch of different business coaching programs over the years. And this conversation won't just be about business, but I wanted to tie this in because there's a story here I want to tell you. And that is that my business, as you are participating in it now, got created out of this very undefined, very big demand of myself, where it was I don't care what it takes, I don't care that I don't know how to do it. I'm starting this business. I'm starting an online business. And I was a new facilitator, so I'd been a facilitator probably for about a year. And, I had some exposure online and a little bit of something, but I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a plan, and I didn't have a roadmap, and I hadn't yet taken all those courses that tell you how to do shit. All I had was a big demand in my world and a need for money, which thank God we have the need for money, because that pain drives most of us forward. And I just started creating. Now, I have succeeded by accident for most of my life. And what I mean by that is I didn't know how I was going to I didn't know I was going to succeed. I definitely didn't have a definite, this is what you do and this is the way it's going to work. So I ended up making, out of that big demand, I ended up making my first $900 online and going, hang on a second, maybe this could work. And then I think I created the next thing and created the next thing. And for the first, I don't know, year or two in business, I was flying by the seat of my pants and really just creating stuff and things and accidentally making money. It was great. And change, right? Money and change sort of go hand in hand. But you start doing that after a while, and somebody like me starts to get bored, and I'm like, well, what else is there? And what else don't I know? And what can I, choose to make this bigger? Hi, Julian. And so I started taking, all the webinars, all the do this thing and you'll get this result, and all those courses. And I've taken, I've spent thousands of dollars on courses for, online stuff. And I know a lot of you guys that have too. And I got a lot of good information. Sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. It's like when you're in a new arena, you're in a new whatever, it's helpful to fill the well and get ideas of well, how could this work? And what are other people doing? And, so it was helpful. I learned how to do 5-day challenges and webinars and stuff, all kinds of things. But the other thing that I started to do was come to conclusion about how to build my business. Now, that's interesting because I'm an access consciousness facilitator, and our whole thing, my whole thing with you, and my whole thing with everybody else except for me and in the past, has been to invite you to get out of definition. And when we talk about beyond this reality, that's what we're talking about. Beyond definition, beyond control, beyond linearity, where A plus B equals C, because that doesn't even work. Beyond, you know, the concentricity of like, I promise you can create a fixed result and use this formula and it's going to work. So beyond all of that, there is a reality that actually works for you. Now, the thing about, I don't know, the world that we live in and what you may have been shown and taught about living is that that's not a very like mainstream point of view. Thank you. You know, like the mainstream point of view is, you know, get your answers, get your formula, if you go to school and get a good job and get married, you'll have a nice life. That's the kind of the bigger mainstream formula, right? And those of you guys that watch my shit aren't really those kind of people, right? You might have tried that to see if you could do it, but it didn't really work for you. And the same thing is true about business. It's like the traditional things that seem to work for a lot of other people, or the people that are visible, that are now succeeding, that spent 20 years not succeeding and then got to here. You look at them and you go, well, if I do what they did, then maybe I'll succeed too, instead of going, wow, they did that, I wonder what I can create. And that's the beyond this reality conversation. That's the beyond this reality choices that you have available. Now, when it comes to things like business or anything that involves money, how many of you guys give up beyond this reality choices in favor of decisions and computations and conclusions and judgments? And just everything that is times a godzillion, can we destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So if you're new to that crazy statement, that's the clearing statement, and you can go to theclearingstatement.com and find out all about it. But it acts as a magic wand, and the reason I do that is because every decision and conclusion that you come to about what's going to make something work limits what you could actually choose and be for something to work. And that's what I mean by beyond this reality. This reality says if you define it, if you define it, if you limit it, if you conclude and narrow it, you'll have success. Beyond this reality goes, well, what if you didn't have to define it? What if actually being the space of all possibility and choosing from and as that space actually invited way more possibility than you could even imagine? Now, for me, what used to happen is that I would look at the narrowing and go, well, at least over here, you've got a definite result. And over here, we're total space. And we don't know where the result's going to come from. We don't know what the fuck is going to happen over here, right? So from my limited, like from my mind, which is actually not your best choice of where to live, you know, this looked more promising than this. But here's what started to happen in my business. Here's what started to happen in my body. Because creating business is, you know, the creation of like living, right? So you aren't separate from your business. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but like you're the source. So the way you choose to create your business is going to be the way your life goes, really, right? Like if you choose to create from a lot of definitions and conclusions, and that is fucking hard on your body, and you have to hold those in place, and you have to make them come true, and you have to use a lot of force and energy and effort. But beyond this reality is choice and question and possibility and contribution, and you choose again, and what's next, and you get information and you choose again, and you're like, oh, well, which choice is going to create greater possibilities, and you choose that way, and you actually ask the universe for money, and you become the source of money, and you receive, and all that shit is like easy. Ease and joy and glory is beyond this reality. This reality is work, pain, suffering, and gory, literally. So what occurred for me in this last year was COVID. I don't know if you guys have noticed, we've had a worldwide pandemic, put that in air quotes. And right around the time of COVID, I'd been traveling a lot. I was excited about the change that I was seeing around the world, but I was tired, and I was really living hand to mouth financially, because traveling and doing live classes around the world, unless you've got like hundreds of people coming, well, even if you have hundreds of people coming, it's cost expensive. Like, online business is great because you don't have a lot of overhead and stuff. So anyway, when COVID hit, I was like, I had been shoveling out a lot of money to travel around the world. And I was actually really relieved, I'll be honest with you. I love you guys, and I want to hug you somewhere around the world someday. And I'm creating a totally different financial reality, so that's easy, okay? So I was like relieved. So it was interesting. So that was thing one. I was relieved. And so I started asking, you know, I've started looking at my business, and I'm like, I wonder what I could be or do with my business that would actually make cash flow easier. Now that's cool. That's a question. I wonder what I could choose that would make this easier. Question. Then I went to some conclusions about what we had been doing in my business that I had decided were the source of the shortage of cash flow. I went to some conclusions, like, we're not doing this right, and I don't think we're doing this well. And I upped my demand. You know, we started all as a team training differently in copywriting and marketing lingo, and like, I was putting us all through it. And I'm so grateful for that for so many reasons, because there are skills, writing skills to learn. There's things to know about that. But here's the awareness that I got from that I didn't expect. I took it to the extreme. I'm an extremist. Listen, when I do something and I get into it, I'm like extreme times a godzillion. So I went right into it. I was going to actually get trained and certified as a story brand coach, which I could still do. So I was reading the books, and I was practicing, and I was doing all these sessions, and I was implementing it into all my coaching stuff and everything. And I was really using it on our landing pages. Cool. It was good information. It was more work, and I had to put more effort in, and I had to use some more thinking than I was really used to. And I was observing all that. Like, it wasn't as easy as maybe just like going, what does this page want to say, and putting the words there. But it's like, okay, well, I'm paying my dues, you know. And it was cool. It created stuff and things. But it came to a head for me when I had 2 business programs launching around the same time. Amplify, which is the one you're invited to if you have a business. Come and check it out. And then I had another one I called Make Online Sales Your Bitch. And it is an epic program. But I created them differently. Amplify was this open space where you get to show up twice a week and ask your questions and get facilitation, and everything in your life and your business gets greater. No form, no structure, no significance. This is, we meet twice a week. If you want to add on the option of meeting with me privately once a month, you can. That's it. That's the whole program. Okay? Make Online Sales Your Bitch got created from the point of view that I needed to create a business program with more structure. So I gave it more structure. Man, we have a 10-month, curriculum. We've got a certification at the end. Like, everything was done correct according to this reality. Here's what's interesting about that. Creating Amplify, and this is a beyond this reality conversation, creating Amplify was ease. The people that are in there are so much fun. It had so much generative energy. It was like, space, possibility. The people in there are like exploding, their businesses are growing. Make Online Sales Your Bitch is starting to be that now, but only because I changed the energy. But in the beginning was like moving slower. It had more sludge in it. And after I launched it and we started doing it, I was exhausted. Now that's interesting. And I don't think most people look at that as something that is relevant. It's like, well, you're creating business, you're exhausted, that's normal, right? I noticed it because I'd made a bunch of decisions. Not only that, but of the 2 launches, I made more money with Amplify. So it's like everything was like pointing to, hang on a second. So what you're saying is, when I create from beyond this reality and I actually ask questions and I receive and I'm just willing to gift and I invite and I don't try to sell and all that stuff, you mean that works better? And I feel better? Well, that's interesting. Oh wait, I'm a bug. And then when I don't do that and I go to a bunch of decisions and conclusions and I do the exact processes and I follow the rules, my body hurts, and I'm exhausted, and I want nothing to do with my business for like 3 weeks? I noticed. And that's when I started to look at what I was doing. And this is a key to making your life work better. It's like if you have something in your life that isn't quite working, you got to start to look at what you're doing. And I mean what you're doing under the surface. And what I started to notice is that I was trying to straddle both worlds, and I wasn't actually choosing yet what I was about. What I started to notice is that there's this reality and there's the reality, and they don't blend. This reality is inside of the reality, similar to my body is inside of me. I'm an infinite being. This reality is inside of the reality, but it's similar to like when the currents in the ocean, you know, or salt water and fresh water, right? Fresh water can go into salt water, and eventually though, the salt water takes over and it becomes salt water. Thank you so much, Maruna. So, okay, cool. Now we've got this reality and that reality. Well, I realized I was trying to be partially pregnant. I was trying to use consciousness tools to create this reality. I don't even know how to put words to it. I was trying to do both. And the thing is, you can't be partially pregnant. You are either freshwater or saltwater. You are either pregnant or not. I mean, this is one of those things in the reality of the universe, is that like you're either a cow or you're a horse, or you're a cow or you're a dolphin, but you're not like a dolphin horse. Like there's no, I don't know. You know what I mean? So, which is all, I wasn't even in judgment about it. I was just really looking at it because I was in so much, I was so tired. And I was like, okay, what would I like to choose here? And what I noticed for myself is that in that moment, I had some points of view about really committing to true consciousness, which is receiving, which is asking, which is getting awareness, which is judging nothing, which is just letting go of definition. You know, of course, it's a process. It's like you're working that way of being into your life, right? Or working yourself into being that way. And so I said, well, what do I want to create here? Because in this reality, there's the point of view that you can create fixed results. You can do that. If you do this and this, you definitely will get this. And if we were living in a mechanical, you know, algorithmic reality, you could. Like, you know, that's how algorithms work. This plus this equals this. However, we're not algorithmic beings. We're acoustical beings. We can try to fit ourselves into the algorithmic reality and try to make ourselves work like a computer, but how much does it hurt your body? How much does it contract your space? And so then the question is, well, does it really work for you to do that? And that was really, I mean, that was a conversation I was having with myself, but also I have this incredible friend who's also a facilitator, and, you know, we love talking about business, and she had been really conflicted about that for a while. She's got some friends that are really killing it with this reality funnel thing, and they're making a lot of money. So, I mean, it's not even that you can't make a lot of money doing that. But the question that I asked her, I was like, okay, cool, they're doing that. Does that actually work for you? Now that's a beyond this reality question, where you have to start to look at what actually works for you. What's the way of creating that actually works for you? And that's what I started looking at for me. I'm like, okay, first of all, what do I want to create in the world? Do I want to create more? Do I just want people to pay me for programs? Is that my thing? Like, no. Am I here to create and empower more consciousness on the planet? Yeah, I am. Okay, cool. Am I willing to actually commit to what I know creates that? And that's a little bit where I had to pause for a second, because I was like, okay, so what creates more consciousness? What allows me to access more consciousness? What allows everybody else to access more consciousness? And I was like, okay, well, it's being in question and actually choosing and possibility and looking for that. Like, what are the choices that have the greatest possibility? That's, you know, where and how and what can I choose and be to receive the contribution I am in the universe is. That's what accesses and empowers and creates more access to consciousness. Am I willing to commit to that? And in the very moment that I asked it, I wasn't. And here's why, because I had decided that if I do that, then, and you know, anytime you're doing an if I do that, then you're concluding. But I had decided that if I do that, I'll lose my business. Like, if I don't try to sell things to people, you know, shit. But it was a moment. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for that moment. I'm so grateful for everything that occurred, because I got to look at what was true for me. And that's a beyond this reality conversation. And I got to look at what life worth living would be for me. Like, if I created my business always trying to get a fixed result from my programs, if I, you know, did that amount of work and did that amount of effort, and did that amount of conclusion, was that going to create life worth living for me? No. It was simple. So what is life worth living for me? Man, where everybody gets to be greater. Everybody's just invited. Everybody's got choice. Everybody's like empowered to the degree they want to be empowered. You know, everybody's got the amount of success they want to have. Like, everybody gets to have access to what they want to have access to. That's consciousness. Okay. So the way I create my business will reflect what I'm choosing there, you know. And I was like, okay, so if I wanted to use my business as a tool for empowering anybody that wants it to have more consciousness, what would that be like? And I made a total change. And I will be honest, like, in that moment when I made a total change, I had to become willing to lose everything, because that was my underlying point of view. If I do this, I'm going to lose everything. But it was like, well, it's life worth living or the other thing, so I guess I'll be willing to lose everything. And I realized that I was going to change totally the way that I was inviting, and stop selling to people and simply invite and be more and receive more and invite. And that I didn't know what that was going to look like. And that I'd never really chosen that before. So I also didn't know what it was going to be like. So it was a totally unknown, from a cognitive point of view, choice to make. But there was only one choice for me. But that's a beyond this reality conversation, right? Like, that's looking at what's really true for you. Everyone else is going to tell you, this is what's true, this is what you should believe. I mean, you can even just look at like all the COVID insanity going on all over social media of like, well, this is what's true. No, this is what's true. No, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. You know, that's this reality. Beyond this reality is going, okay, what's actually true for me? What's light for you what's true for you makes you lighter. What's heavy and not true for you makes you heavier. So this is what I was looking at when I was, you know, these two ways of creating business. I'm like, this is really heavy this other way. Am I willing to truly claim that that's what's true for me? Am I actually willing to commit to me beyond this reality? This may not be true for so-and-so that has a multi-billion-dollar business doing this thing. This may, you know, he's got something else going on. Am I willing to commit to and explore what's really true for me? And embody the energy that I want to create in the world, embody the reality I'm having, the reality I want to see more of in the world. Am I willing to be that? Because if I don't be that and I don't choose that, it doesn't exist. And is that okay with me? Not really. And so I just made a totally different choice. So the last, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, everything's different. My emails are different. My posts are different. The amount of people coming to my classes, the conversations we're having, the amount of space and possibility and freedom that's getting created is so different. So I wanted to have this conversation with you because there's all kinds of, especially with business and money, there's all kinds of conversations out there. What's your reality? And where do you find it? What's true for you? What choices can you make in your business, with money, in your relationships, whatever it is, that are beyond this reality? What This reality that tells you things are limited, that you can't, that you have to do it a certain way, that you won't be able to, that you're all the limitation of this reality, what's true for you, what's actually possible for you, what choices do you have available that nobody else has available? You know, what is life worth living for you? Is it just creating your next dollar? Is that enough for you? Because it isn't for me. Or is it creating a totally different reality, a totally different possibility? Are you already that totally different possibility? Are you already something the world has never seen? And if you are you already like the thing you want more of in the world? You know, like if I could create the world I knew was possible, man, people would just be fucking happy to be themselves. People would be, you know, empowered to choose whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted. People would be considering or, you know, asking like, what can I choose that would take care of all of us? There would be generosity of spirit. There would be, you know, care, nurturing, empowerment, badassery, in whatever that looks like. People enjoying their bodies, no judgment. You know, like there's a world that I want to see, that I'm the source of. So am I just about making the next dollar? Am I really about something else? And can that include dollars? Fuck yes. Money is such a facilitator of people and you and receiving and all this. So that's a whole other conversation. But like, what is your beyond this reality and where do you find it? And so that's super relevant in business, super relevant in living. And if you would, you're invited. Of course you're invited. ChristelJoyCrawford.com/amplify. And if you want some more conversations around this, I have a free Facebook group called Amplify, Beyond This Reality Business. I don't know what I called it. Look for Amplify. You can join us there. There's free stuff in there for you. But what's your reality and where do you find it? And is what you're choosing enough for you, or are you about something else, something more? And if you were willing to embody that energy and be it, how would that change everything in your life? And how could you start to apply that? All right. I love your guts. Share this if you loved it. And I'll see you guys next week.